Former Bears quarterback Jim Miller, part of our post-game show After the Whistle on Fox's digital channels. Nice enough to join us. Jim, great to see you. Caleb Williams, after last night's game, said, "We've proven who we are." Who are they?
Well, I think they're a team that's ascending is where they are. I think they've really made a good push now down the stretch to get their offense, their more balanced attack. You look at Caleb the last 3 weeks alone, he's thrown for 248, and then throws for over 300 last night against the 49ers. They're not a complete team yet. They're ascending and they're playing their best football in the first year of a new head coach. But, so he said he knows who they are. They're heading in the right direction is who they are. They've won their division, and now they've got to win next week against the Detroit Lions to see where their seeding is going to be at number 2. And if they're the number 2 seeded team, I think they'll be in it to compete like every other team. The records are the same. They start at 0, and they'll be starting over.
Hey, Jimmy, we are going to get into the defense in a couple of minutes, but I really want to talk about the final drive. They're down 42-38. Bears get the ball back on their own 35-yard line, 2:15 left to play in the game. They have all their timeouts. As a former quarterback in this league, was there anything that you didn't like during that final drive? Play calling, plays executed, what did you have a problem with, if anything?
No, essentially it becomes a 2-minute drive. I remember one of our plays in our 2-minute drive, and pretty much every offense's 2-minute drive, is the hook and ladder. And here they even pull that out in that drive because, it was an offensive game. And so everything in the kitchen sink was going to be run. And probably the only play I didn't like was the last play. For Caleb to say, hey, this is who we are and we know who we are. Well, you got to finish those games. I think we've seen it against Green Bay where they were one pass short of winning that game. That was a crucial game. And I think you could say the same thing last night because I think Caleb is too good of a quarterback to not make that last play. So they were one throw away from potentially, having an avenue to the number 1 seed. So they're still not polished. They still can get better, but they're right there in the game. I think they're finding themselves in games that are meaningful with the ability to compete. And now they've got to finish. That's what it's about, finishing.
Tell me if I'm wrong, man. I'm not sure I've seen Caleb Williams play better in the pocket than I did last night.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think probably since week 8 on, you've seen a young quarterback that is really taking command of the huddle. I think you can see that he's definitely interactive at the line of scrimmage, killing plays, making checks. You can see him going through the process of making his reads. And you can see him managing a game. I know nobody likes to hear that, but that's your job. You got to manage first downs, second downs, third downs, red zone, coming out period, 2-minute drives that you just mentioned last night. He's managing it all, and he's going to continue to get better and better and better. So I really like just how he's really taken control of everything because you're in control as a quarterback. And I think early in the year, he was overwhelmed. And now he's starting to embrace it, and he'll continue to get better. I really like what he's doing and how he's playing right now.
In his last 2 showings, Jim, game on the line against playoff teams, the guy's thrown for 620 yards, 4 touchdowns. I love this. No sacks, 0 turnovers, 0 negative plays. You have played quarterback. You appreciated more than anyone the changes that Ben Johnson made to the way he played this position. Did you think he would pick it up this quickly, that he'd play this well this season?
Well, I think he's embraced it. I think early it was, like I said, overwhelming for him, and he tried to fight it a little bit. But I think he and Ben Johnson have come to a good middle ground. You look at Caleb, he's a different type of quarterback than Jared Goff. Jared Goff is a midline pocket passing quarterback. And I think Ben Johnson is fusing the two because Caleb is athletic. He can make plays outside of the pocket, much like he's done all season long. And they've really blended this together and really created this relationship that his growth is starting to really spurt right now. I will say this. The kid has an act. We compared him, I remember in a post-game show, it was me, you, and Tina and Pat, to John Elway. You get Caleb the ball, like with the last drive, have the ball in his hand a lot, the last drive of a game, a lot of good things are going to happen. It didn't happen last night against San Francisco, but boy, he put him there. He put him there to make it happen, in my opinion. And now it's about to finish. He's going to come out on the winning end more than the losing end with how this development and his growth and where it's going. It's pretty nice where he's at right now.
Defense has to play better, Jim. I mean, they gave up almost 500 yards of total offense last night, 880 yards over the last 2 games. Run defense has given up 400 yards over the last couple of games, and they don't get to the quarterback. I mean, what can be done now with this defense this late in the season?
Yeah, I think the roster's the roster. All Dennis Allen can continue to do is trying to manufacture things. What a great way to start the game with the pick 6 last night. They continue to get turnovers, and they're going to have to continue to generate things like that because I don't think they're going to be able to get pass rush. Otherwise, Dennis Allen's going to have to blitz a lot more, but that's where the complementary football comes into it. The Bears now are a high-scoring team, right where they need to be because their defense isn't as stout is probably what it needs to be roster-wise. They're not done in building that side of the ball. So they've got to be a high-scoring team that's opportunistic on defense, that gets them some opportunities. And, if that's the case, like what happened last night, the Bears can't have a first half offensively like they did against the 49ers. All those 3 and outs, put their defense in harm's way. They've got to keep, against a team like San Francisco, keep them on the sideline, and you do that offensively by sustaining drives, moving the chains, time of possession, and that can protect the defense a little bit. But they're going to have to continue to be high-scoring on offense, and Dennis Allen is just going to have to manage and do what they've been doing defensively, which has been great. I think they played over their skis, quite frankly, on defense.
All right. How are you playing Sunday's game against Detroit? Are you playing your starters the whole game? What are you doing?
Yeah, I think you can't rest everybody. I think you got to be selective. If guys have some bumps and bruises, I think there are key guys like Montez Sweat, that you'd want to protect. Obviously, Caleb, I would expect to see Tyson Bagent a little bit in this game, but you can't rest them all. That's the bottom line. Offensive lineman starters are going to have to play. Maybe at a certain point, you can pull Darnell Wright. We know he's a key figure on the offensive line, can't lose him, and he's just coming over sickness. So those selectively, I think, in my opinion, start pulling guys. The star players, the key players, I just sit them. I would personally just sit them, but then the select guys, you're going to try and pull out and minimize their or subject them to injury as the game goes along. They're too critical, and it's been a long time, Lou. They want to put themselves in the best spot possible for postseason success.
Even with the 2 seed at stake? I mean, you win this game, Jim, you beat Detroit, you win the 2 seed, and you guarantee yourself, not guarantee, but you put yourself in a great position to host 2 playoff games. You're telling me that, the health of this team even a little bit more important than winning?
Well, like I said, as the game goes along, I think it can declare itself. If they're able to pull a lead against the Lions, which I think they can, I personally think they can have the lead against the Lions, and then you can hopefully, if the game decides itself, you can start pulling select players. Look what Philly did last year. Philly rested their starters the last 2 weeks of the season. Do I think the Bears want the 2 seed? Yeah, I would want the 2 seed because I'd want to play the Green Bay Packers. I don't think they're a very good team right now. So I think you play to win, but if the game is where it decides itself, I think you start to selectively pull certain guys to make sure they're healthy for best postseason success. Because I don't think the 3 or 4 seeds really matter. It's really the same. But I'd want to play the Packers, that's for sure.
Okay, that was my next question. Who do you want to play in that first round? And you're telling me a beat-up Green Bay team, right?
Yeah. I think I've been saying that they're susceptible against the run, and Derrick Henry just proved it. The Bears ran the ball. Look at all their losses. Their loss to Carolina at home. Carolina ran for over 100 yards on them, I think 130 or more up in Green Bay. And now that the Bears will be home, I just think you pound that team to oblivion. Now that Micah Parsons is gone, and even Micah's not good against the run. The thing about Green Bay, they play with the lead. When you play with the lead, you can just unleash your pass rushers. But get into a down and dirty game with Green Bay like what Baltimore just did, and I think you see the results. They can be pounded into oblivion.
Hey, Jim, 49ers played without its two best players on defense. Nick Bosa, who's been out for the year, and Fred Warner, who said yesterday on the broadcast that he could be back for the NFC Championship game. Is San Francisco, the Rams, Seahawks, or Eagles? Of those four, right there, which team is the team to beat in the NFC, in your opinion?
I think it's going to be the Rams, personally. I think they are the most complete team. Really, the only thing that has been their bugaboo is special teams. You know, they've had to fire their special teams coach. They had to switch out their long snapper and punter, I believe. They've had some special teams gaffes that have cost them. But with Stafford, his experience, he's been there, done that.
You host on Sirius XM NFL radio every afternoon, so you know what's going on around the NFL, not only in the NFC, but also the AFC. You just told me that you thought the Rams were the elite team in the NFC. What about in the AFC?
Well, I still think, Denver obviously is strong. You know, I think it's really about their young quarterback taking the next step. Jacksonville has been a surprise. They've really been a surprise of how well they're playing. They're, like we always say, you want to play your best football after Thanksgiving. They are. And Trevor Lawrence. So they are an interesting team because I think they're playing the best of any team in the AFC right now, and they could throw a loop into some things.
Interesting. All right, Jimmy, thanks so much for the time. We will see you next weekend on Sunday following the Bears-Lions game on After the Whistle on our Fox Digital channels, okay?
Good to be with you, Lou.